What's going on today, everybody? Well, we just finished our compression test, and I wanted to go over, I guess, what everything means, or at least what I figured out everything means. So we had a little bit of compression problems or mishaps. I don't know what to call it, but we did our compression cold and then we did it hot. Now those numbers actually didn't vary much at all. So what does that mean, I guess? The only thing that I can think of that I can come up with is I don't think my tester's doing too hot. I don't think it's very accurate. So I need to check my tester to see if that's actually accurate still, because it's a very old one. And B, I don't think that the throttle body, now you push your clutch in and you push your accelerator all the way down, and that's supposed to open the throttle body. Now, without opening the throttle body, there's a little bit of suction that happens right there that doesn't quite let air go all the way through like it should. So that will indicate a lot lower numbers. Now with the car being drive-by-wire, that means there's electric connection between the throttle and the throttle body. It won't open unless the electronics or the ECU will allow it. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my theory on why the hot and the cold were not very different. Didn't take the car out for a drive. I just let it sit in the driveway and let it idle to warm up. So I did the cold, and then I put everything back together and I let the car idle until it warmed up to 192. And then went ahead and did my hot test. That's probably not the most effective way of doing it, because with having A, forged internals, and B, a different compression ratio, they could be lower, but forged internals won't warm up at the same rate as what the rest of the block does. Now, having the coolant up to temperature 192 doesn't mean that the whole block is the same temperature, the block and the pistons. So that can have a little bit of effect on what I had going on. So for my cold test, my number 1 cylinder was at 110. My number 2, 110. Number 3 was at 95, and my 4 was at 105. So the grouping is okay. My number 3 cylinder seems to be a little bit low, from 110 being my highest and 95 being the lowest. Now that's not terrible. It's not super, it's not what you want, I guess. It's not within the range of 7%, because that's, what is that, 5? That's 15. Yeah, that's 15 PSI between the two, between my high and my low. So that's not ideal. And then when I went ahead and I did it as a hot, my number 1 actually dropped to 100 from 110. And then my number 2 stayed the same, well, 110 to 113. My number 3 rose from 95 to 100. And then my number 4 gained from 105 to 118. So it's kind of all over the board as far as what happened with it. So I don't know if I definitely believe my tester, either my tester or my method. Something might not have happened that great for me. One of the problems that I have is that this tester, my compression tester, when I go to screw it in, if I screw it in, then it hangs up on something, it will actually twist. So the whole thing twists while the actual piece that goes into the cylinder does not twist. And you can't get your fingers on this well enough to actually twist it into the cylinder bore with just this piece, so it makes it harder that way. I've got something that's going on with how it's tested, or the testing process. I don't know where to, I guess, go from there. I'm probably gonna buy a new tester, but the other thing is that they were all within the same range, and my range is okay. It's a little bit out of spec at 7 psi. I guess that's double what it's supposed to be when it's cold. And then my hot was 100 to 118, so that's again 18 psi, 15 psi. Not ideal, but it's not the same pistons that are causing the high and the low. On the first one, on the cold, my lowest was my number 3 cylinder, and my highest was my number 1 and number 2. On the hot, my highest was number 4. My lowest was number 3 and number 1. So I have a feeling that screwing this piece in did not go as good as it should have. And I tried multiple times, tried to get it in there differently, and I don't think it's sealing up very well. Yeah, I just don't think it's sealing very well. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get a new tester. I went through and showed you guys how to do the testing, and we did everything right. It's just I think that our tester is the problem. So we need to go ahead and we need to get a new tester and try to figure out why this isn't showing up as good as it's supposed to, because I'm really hoping it's not the piston rings, which it's strange that all the piston rings or all the compressions are the same. They're all low, but they're all the same. So about the same, I guess. Very interesting. Gonna have to work on it some more. The other thing is I took the camera and I threw the camera up in the pistons, and they all have a very strange clean spot on them, I guess I would say. Doesn't need coolant. I haven't touched the coolant for, shoot, almost 30,000 miles. So it's not the coolant that's the problem, but it's all of a sudden eating oil. I'll go 700 miles on this oil change and it's gone through a quart of oil. That's a little aggressive on how much oil it's eating. Not good. So where's it going? Can't find it on the ground, so it's definitely going out the tailpipe somehow. My other avenue that I guess I've got going to go for is I've got a brand new PCV sitting here on the bench that I need to install. I think that might be part of my problem. That being said, I've got catch cans and stuff like that that are connected to the PVC, so it should be catching through that. And I should be seeing it in my catch cans, not in my intake as much. But then the other thing is it might have a turbo problem because it's oil cooled turbo. So we probably have something going on with the turbo in that aspect, which honestly I would put money on it being the turbo because it has the crack in the wastegate area and it's been known to have problems. Who knows? I guess time will tell. If you guys have any idea on why things are happening the way that they're happening, on where my oil could be going, and B, why this compression test was so low. Maybe you guys have. Maybe I missed a step. Maybe I'm forgetting something. It's been a while since I've actually done a compression test, but it should be pretty standard. Take the plugs out, put the tester in, crank it over, hold the gas wide open. So with that, I'm gonna go do some research, do some thinking, and try to get things figured out on how to do this better and how we're going to move forward. What is it going to cost? Do I need to get a new engine? Do I need to rebuild this one again? It's got 30,000 miles on this rebuild. Shouldn't be the end of the world. That being said, I did use drop-in pistons, which I've heard have been kind of a problem. Who knows if that's actually the problem or not. They have a standard size, went with the standard. Didn't have it bored over, so that can be part of my problem. The other problem is pistons are at a new compression, a 9.5 instead of an 8.55. So compression could be an issue there. I mean, we're checking the compression, but that is just how much air is allowing into the cylinder. The other thing is the rings are gapped for about 500 horse. So they're gapped a lot bigger than the actual factory spec. That's another problem that can come up, is that I've got too much gap in my pistons. Now, initially when I built this engine, I was gonna dump a bunch of money into it, put a big turbo, and try to make 500 out of it. Things came up, money wasn't there, so it's been sitting at this 300 mark for a long time. 30,000 miles apparently. And I'm wondering if it's not getting enough heat to the ringlands to actually heat them up enough to close that gap. That's the other thing is, I mean, it's gapped bigger, so it's going to burn oil, and it's got different pistons in it. Who knows? Definitely doing some research on this. If you guys have any ideas, please let me know down in the comments. Please help me out by subscribing. Always gives me hope, and then give me a big thumbs up. Please. Take it easy, everyone. I'm gonna get out of here and do some research. So I will catch you guys in the next episode, and you have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.